This week I read a novella from Victor Pelevin. It was translated this year by Andrew Bromfeld. It's called The Hall of the Singing Caryatids. This book is science fiction, but it doesn't veer too far off the tracks of reality. First of all, it takes place on this planet. And second of all the characters are people. Well, except maybe also a praying mantis, but that's only if you count a hallucination as another character. I guess it's a character inside a character? Is there a word for that? Anyway, the book focuses on Lena and her new job in the Malachite Hall of what's essentially a ritzy-ditzy house of pleasure. She works for 2 days a week, but when I say 2 days, I mean 2 days straight. Along with 2 other girls, her job is to pose as a caryatid, and she's covered in makeup to blend in with all the different features of the Malachite Hall. If you don't already know, a caryatid is an architectural term for a column or a support that's shaped like a woman. How these living caryatids stay completely still for 2 days is actually quite simple. They're injected with a serum from the praying mantis, which allows them to stay still just like the mantis does while it's waiting for prey to come close enough to strike. So, like the mantis, they can remain completely still, but they still have complete control of their bodies. This allows them to seem to come to life if a customer seems interested in more than just statues. In a place where the columns come to life, this is a book about fantasy and the power of fantasy. Here's Lena's boss explaining the idea. We are creating an entirely new type of personal pleasure zone. Its fundamental, distinctive stylistic element will be the naked female body. Of course, that doesn't mean a room full of naked broads. No one nowadays is interested in some Neapolitan tarantella, the kind of thing once mocked so viciously by the writer Avranchenko. No, what we're doing here will outdo anything that even the decadent Roman emperors ever witnessed. Imagine caryatids, he continues, who come to life when the client wishes, who engage him in conversation and provide him with various services of an intimate nature, but only if the client is interested. The rest of the time, they remain petrified. They are merely a detail of an interior in which absolutely anything can happen. So, Lena is a real person, posing as a caryatid, which is a statue, which is a representation of a real person. This is one of the things I actually truly enjoyed about this book. You can read this story and let it wash over you much like the praying mantis serum. Or, if you've got a deeper interest in semiotics or language and language theory, you can think about the way all of these things are working on a more abstract level in the book. This works especially well through Lena. She isn't particularly smart, but she reads a lot. In this way, you get to read what she reads and maybe see past what she sees. At one point, she reads about Wittgenstein. A quick wiki search will tell you he's a real Austrian philosopher. His work focused on the relationship between language and the world, and the way that language limits our experience of the world. So, if we read all of that theory back onto Lena's situation, recall the woman posing as the statue, which is a representation of a woman, then we see a witty critique of modern Russian culture, and also our own culture of consumption, which leads to an obsession with churning out the latest and greatest stimulation. As Lena tries to read and barely make sense of it, we also see an enormous gap between theory and practice, one which might hit home in the burst bubble of our current economic state. Illusions and disillusions play like a hall of mirrors in this book, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. That was The Hall of Singing Caryatids, and you're watching Brave Little Books.